Mass Effect Andromeda, the fourth game in a trilogy, the soft reboot that no one really asked for, the bastard child of the franchise. My feelings about this game are much like Star Trek V or Ascension. I know it's not good, but for some reason I still kinda like it. Because it had the potential to be good, and those fragments of potential are scattered throughout like gold in a muddy stream. So this is going to be neither a belated Andromeda hate session nor a fanboy cope. It's a post-mortem. And short conclusion, Andromeda could have been both a good game and a good story with a few fairly minor changes at the writing and gameplay design stages. The real problems come down to two related things. First, when designing a role-playing story-driven game, the story has to be carefully balanced with the gameplay. Andromeda erred on the side of gameplay, and often did so badly. Most notably with those damned Sudoku puzzles, but we'll talk about that a bit later. There's a lot of bad game design in Andromeda, but a lot of it could have been fixed by serving the story it was trying to tell and worrying less about keeping the player busy. The second factor is the story itself. It's fundamentally flawed in several key ways, starting with the player character. From the start of the game, the character is boxed in to a much greater extent than Game 1 Shepard. Ryder is on the mission because Ryder's dad is leading it. Not only leading it, but he's what they call a Pathfinder, an AI-augmented individual deemed so mission-critical that the whole project can fall apart without their designated space wizard. So, of course, he dies in the first mission, but not before passing on the Pathfinder powers via nanotech and a direct link to an AI called Sam that will go on to annoy you for the rest of the game. In a clunky scene, trying desperately for an emotional connection it hasn't earned. Ryder wakes up and learns that he or she is now the revered Pathfinder Space Jesus that's going to save them all from shit planning and skill gaps, I guess. As the intro levels continue, Ryder is handed authority, a crew, and a shiny new spaceship, and sent out into the galaxy to fix it based solely on parentage. The game even explicitly has Cora, who was designated second and should have become Pathfinder, step aside with no complaint.
It's what he wanted. I won't stand in the way.
This would have been a good opportunity to make Ryder do something to get that leadership role, even if it's just a symbolic argument. Something to set up a rivalry while simultaneously making Ryder assert some authority and skill of their own, allowing Ryder to establish respect with his or her crew while setting up the character arc with Cora as a future friend or love interest for Ryder, depending on all the gameplay options at work. Preferably a problem that the player has to solve with knowledge acquired on the mission that the others lack, but even just breaking a stalemate over what to do next would work if they're being lazy. Anything would be better than, guess what, Ryder, you're the new Pathfinder now, save us. Instead, Andromeda highlights the lack of effort on Ryder's part. No matter how you play the game, Ryder is a kid wielding unearned power and getting way too much credit for showing up. This is a bad start, but it's not unrecoverable if Ryder is made to grow into the role. But in this stage of the story, Andromeda also sabotages its own premise. The setup of a Pathfinder leading thousands of colonists into the unknown is shat upon with the arrival at the Nexus, a space station serving as their headquarters. We learn that we're not the first, we're the second wave of settlers. People have been there for almost a year, barely hanging on, though still able to build megastructures in space. Rather than a frontier of mystery and danger, we're deluged with political infighting and administrative quibbles.
Director Addison wants to see a complete report of the Tempest's supplies, munitions, and crew.
Director Tan overruled Addison.
The ship's loaded out with equipment for outpost discovery, squarely under Director Addison's purview.
The first real mission begins with Mary Sue Ryder heading off to solve other people's problems with a failed outpost. One that didn't suffer any catastrophic problem, it's just kind of a trash planet that's like New Mexico after a week-long nuclear testing binge and the colonists just gave up. None of this is particularly compelling. An adventure game has to be more engaging. And that's where the gameplay problems come in. Keep in mind that this is a story about the colonization of a distant galaxy. You're alone with no help coming, there's barely habitable planets, and an organized force of hostile aliens bent on biologically assimilating everyone that's not them. all set against the backdrop of a lost hyper-advanced civilization, an engineered intelligent species, wartime diplomacy, and subtle clues about the nefarious origins of your mission. And they give us Sudoku, repeatedly, on every planet. Now, I see what they were trying to do. Translating an alien language in order to use their tech requires extreme shorthand if it's going to be part of a game, but there are ways to make it interesting and not repetitive. Maybe do one good puzzle that involves scanning glyphs in one of the structures, discerning their rough meaning from context. For example, scanning a power conduit and concluding that the glyphs above it mean something like sends power through, and then inputting a command or two based on a few of those simple this means that exercises, after which we can say your computer has a working translation program, simplistic as it is, and there's no need to force players to do the same tedious tasks over and over. It feels half-assed and second-rate. And it's surprising because all the elements are here. So let's look at some ways that Andromeda could have been not only a good game, but a good Mass Effect game. First, I direct your attention to the Reaper Sovereign in the original Mass Effect.
My kind transcends your very understanding. We are each a nation, independent, free of all weakness. You cannot even grasp the nature of our existence.
The life-supporting star systems of the galaxy were provided with mass relays that allow interstellar travel for the civilizations that discover them.
Your civilization is based on the technology of the mass relays. Our technology. By using it, your society develops along the paths we desire.
This in turn leads them to the Citadel, an advanced trove of technology and knowledge that they naturally gravitate toward. The Citadel in turn acts as the gateway for the Reapers to begin their annihilation of that wave of civilizations, clearing the stage for the next. Every new civilization gets herded like cattle into the slaughterhouse of the Citadel. Jumping ahead to Andromeda, these colonists arrive in separate arcs to colonize separate worlds, and they build the Nexus. From a gameplay standpoint, it serves the same role as the Citadel, a hub for the story threads to intersect and inject the wider narrative in between exploration and combat missions. But in Andromeda, the other obvious similarities are ignored. It does nothing with the implications of fleeing a galaxy locked into a controlled development path directing them toward inevitable destruction, only to duplicate every aspect of it on their own. Andromeda gives us one-for-one equivalencies. The Nexus is the Citadel. The Remnant are left behind by Andromeda's equivalent of the Protheans. But it doesn't do anything with the implications. Andromeda has no Reapers, no Lovecraftian unknowable foe, no grand narrative. Just the Ket, religious zealots with big guns. Imagine Mass Effect 3 with only its cartoonish portrayal of Cerberus as a villain, no Reapers behind them. That's the Ket in essence. Andromeda is Mass Effect without its primary adversary. And here we need to visit Mass Effect 3's ending. It's easily the most disappointing and complained about aspect of the game. Between the annoying kid, the weak choices, and color-coded ending cinematics, Shepard's story deserved a better climax. But the worst element of it was the explanation of the Reaper's purpose.
Without us to stop it, synthetics would destroy all organics. We've created the cycle so that never happens. That's the solution.
To save you all from being killed by robots, I made some robots to kill you all. Mass Effect 3 is overall a good game, but this is shit. Andromeda was an opportunity to both build on this and redeem it. Consider instead a story that directly raises the question: if everything else is the same, where are Andromeda's Reapers? This introduces the idea of a mysterious threat and makes it feel more like Mass Effect. Because Mass Effect isn't just N7 logos and Asari dancers. It's a story structure that has to be followed, though it can be warped and rearranged. Here's just one possibility. Remember Liara's project to preserve some knowledge for the next cycle?
I've been thinking about the knowledge we gathered on the Reapers, and how easily it could be lost again. So, I put a plan in motion to preserve things for the future. A record of the galaxy, information on the Reapers, relays, different cultures, and blueprints of the Crucible.
What if Andromeda's civilizations tried to do the same thing in a past cycle, but instead of trying to do it with a virtual intelligence running on hardened electronics, they did it biologically? Virally encoded data capable of embedding itself in whatever sufficiently advanced life forms develop in future cycles. But since bioengineering never works as planned, it functions more like a directed cancer. The Ket, with their assimilation of other species, are the result of this biological data packet not only implanting knowledge in their brains, but overriding their physical development. Like, what's that book with the evolutionary virus that makes these intelligent spiders instead of the monkeys that they were supposed to be implanted into? Yeah, that one. The result is a homogeneous cult-like society possessed of divine knowledge that they just know with certainty. Truth revealed by their creator. Truth that any who go through their exaltation process know with unshakable conviction. The scourge, that growth around their planetary systems that impedes navigation, could be another side effect, like a giant clump of self-replicating viral mass or something. The Angara, too, being an engineered species, could be the original form of the Ket, or the result of an attempt to fix the problem that created them. Point being, this biological intervention prevents the rise of new civilizations. The cycle is shorted out. It's just a steady and stagnant resource-starved Ket collective and the slowly expanding space cancer of the Scourge. Until the settlers from the Andromeda Initiative arrive. A diverse mix of younger, vibrant, innovative civilizations. This breaks the stagnation. Suddenly, it's the high point of a cycle, and whatever analog of the Reapers exist in Andromeda awaken, which means that the Ket are not only a dangerous enemy, but also the key to defeating the greater foe, setting the stage for a series of tactical, diplomatic, and ethical choices throughout the game. I want to play that game.
Your civilization is based